Hello everyone, welcome to this tutorial for my delicate and dreamy arrangement of the worship song Here I Am to Worship. In this tutorial I'm going to go over any potential trouble spots and offer up some insight into my thinking as the arranger. So this arrangement is actually built after an idea that I came up with in high school when I played guitar in my youth group. Of course, everybody when I was in high school wanted to learn how to play guitar, and so there were usually a few of us that were playing guitar. And so in order to come up with something that complemented what the other guitarists were doing, I came up with this little counter melody in the chorus that goes, "Here I am to worship, here I am to bow down, here I am to say that you're my God," like that. And I always really loved it. I always remembered it because I loved it so much. And so what I decided to do in arranging this piece right here is I decided to try to incorporate that into the arrangement. And this is something that I often like to do, where I might take something that might be played in a different instrument than the piano, or maybe something that's borrowed from a different style of music, and try to force fit it. Or at least, maybe that's too strong of a term, at least try to play around with that idea in the arrangement that I'm making for the sheet music here. And sometimes it draws out something unexpected and something really beautiful and something that you might not normally find in piano music and is unique and special. And I think that's, in my opinion, I think that happened in this arrangement. I think it created something really beautiful, and it did create something unique, and that actually presents the first challenge in this arrangement, which is here in the chorus, you have the melody sitting below the top note, which is a repeated D note, and then it moves up to an E here. And so it sits like this. So the first challenge is bringing out that melody and not letting the top note become the foreground, keeping that in the background. Obviously, we're used to, as pianists, playing the top note as the melody, bringing that out and letting these lower notes kind of sit in the background. And also, our ear naturally hears the top note as the focal point. So we're kind of working against the grain in two areas. Our what we're used to playing as pianists and our ear's intuition. And so we have to work really hard to make sure that that melody comes out. I will say, the melody, because the arrangement is sparse enough, the melody doesn't naturally get lost in this arrangement. You don't need to work hard to bring it out in order for it to be heard. But what you're wanting to avoid is that top note becoming monotonous and annoying, because it's just this over and over again. And it really does get annoying if you play it like... So it just turns into an annoying drone, and you don't want that to happen. So my suggestion, if it's a challenge for you to bring out that melody and reduce that top note, is the same kind of principles, strategies that I offer in other arrangements and tutorials where it might be a challenge to bring the melody out. And that is to take the one hand that's playing the melody all by itself and separate the melody notes from the accompaniment notes, like something like maybe this. So I'm not really playing it as written. I'm playing all the notes that are written there, but I'm doing it in a different order, and I'm trying to get familiar with what it feels like for those melody notes to be played at the volume I want and the accompaniment note to be played at the volume that I want. I'm just noticing how it feels, and I'm getting used to the technique of the movement of playing it that way. And then I'll start bringing those two notes together. And then I might speed it up a little bit. When I feel comfortable, I'll bring my left hand in at a slower tempo and then bring it up to speed. And another thing you can do to make it interesting and not monotonous is to just, bring in some feeling and some ebb and flow and some dynamic changes and things like that. So if you sing along with it, your natural ebb and flow, just let that come through in your fingers. trying to roll it left. Anyway, you get the idea. So those are some tips for that spot. I will say, before I move on to the next page, I do have some pedal markings here, and I do mean for the pedaling to be used as written, where you're holding it for 3 measures here before lifting, and then you're holding it for 2 measures here before lifting, and then you go to an ordinary kind of intuitive pedaling, and then again later on at the end of the instrumental section, I have you holding the pedal overlapping into the beginning of the bridge, and that's totally intentional. That blend of sound, that mingling of sound, the dissonance that comes with that is intentional. Of course, you may not like it, and that might be your prerogative, and that's totally okay to not play it as written. But I just want to point out it is intentional, and maybe give it a try. If you don't like it, don't do it. Or maybe if your piano is out of tune, or it just doesn't sound nice on your piano, then maybe you do want to not play it as written. But I just wanted to mention it. All right, then when you get to the instrumental section that begins at measure 39, we have like this melody that was introduced in the introduction, now kind of getting expanded a bit. And then after 4 measures or so, measure 43, we start adding in that monotonous top note. And this is where fingering can get to be a challenge. You might find yourself playing these, or needing to play these notes with fingers and stretching your fingers in ways that may not be quite intuitive. And this is where me sort of force fitting, and that's why I used that term before, a guitar part into this arrangement lends itself to maybe something that's unintuitive and unique, but I think really beautiful. And so you find yourself here playing like this, where you have your 4th and 5th fingers stretching a 4th. And that can be challenging, certainly unintuitive, not normal. But I didn't put fingering in here because maybe you want to just play it differently. You could go and roll your thumb up like that. So I play it like this because I've got large hands. It's not difficult for me to do this. But you might want to play it like that. And then where I feel like it is helpful to have a finger in there, I do put it in to help you get set up for a new position in this following measure. Yeah, when you get to measure 50, you have something that's a little bit unintuitive. You have a 1 and 5 playing a 4th, but that sets you up to then get your 3rd finger up on the A, which then gets you set up really well for measure 51. And you know what? You're actually witnessing me notice an edit I want to make here in live time. Actually, you might want to cross over your 2nd finger instead of your 3rd. Like this. That actually sets you up better for the following measure. So I'm going to change that in the sheet music. Yours will say 2 there instead of a 3. Alright, I think that's it, yeah. Oh, one other thing I forgot. On the first page, you have a crescendo here. That just applies because it's sitting on top of the system here, just to your right hand as it enters here. You don't want to go, of a life spent with you. Sorry, I didn't play that right. Yeah, that's annoying. You want it to kind of swell in very gradually. Like that. So, hope that's clear. Hope that tutorial was helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.